If there's one thing that I love, it is having long, drawn-out, in-depth, and verbose conversations about my various video game collections. Now, on the surface, this may seem like, alright, this isn't that big of a stack, but you also have to remember Xbox One cases are just a bit thinner in general compared to most video game cases. Now, this is a very interesting video game collection for me because for most of my video game collections, they're ever growing, and in a sense, that is still the case with the Xbox One and, you know, the Xbox Series and such. I do still plan to buy more games. It's just that for a lot of the games I would buy, they're already on Game Pass, so I'm not necessarily jumping at the bit to buy them at the moment just because, well, yes, I like actually owning my games, and when it comes to actually purchasing the games, I'm going to buy them physically, of course. It's just still a situation where there's so many games coming out at the moment. The Nintendo Switch 2 just launched. There's tons of games still coming to PS5, and those games never go, like 99% of the time, if a game is releasing on PS5 and it's an exclusive to the system or, you know, one thing or another, it's not going to launch straight into the extra or premium tier. It's usually just going to be a full price release, and only in some niche situations will it actually go to extra. And, you know, even in the case of first-party titles, it takes years usually for it to actually make its way to the extra catalogs and such. Whereas on Xbox, obviously, that is not the case. So I'm kind of just being very, very selective about where I spend my money at the moment. So for the time being, this might be all that I have in my Xbox collection. While I buy more Xbox One and Series games in the future, yes, of course, but for the time being, this is just kind of where it's at. So that's why I'm making this video now rather than waiting like I normally would, because for most collections, I try to wait until I have about 75 to 100 games before I go ahead and make the collection video, because that's about my ideal size for a starting point of a collection. But nonetheless, I think I should break this down into a few different stacks, because just having that one massive stack is a bit overbearing. Now, we're not going to be going through this in any particular order by any means, not in alphabetical order or anything. I did have it stacked up nicely over there on my thing, but obviously, you know, got a bit finagled when I brought it over here. So let's just go ahead, cut the yappage, and get right into it. Well, I can't say cut the yappage, because there's going to be nothing but yappage in this video. So first things, wow, it's starting off with a banger. Okay, so there's actually a bit of a story behind this game. This was actually the last midnight release that I ever got to go for. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Obviously, this is a reboot of the original Modern Warfare trilogy. I have so many fond memories with this game. This is the last Call of Duty that I had before I moved away from Pennsylvania, and this was like the last game where I got to split screen with all my buddies, pull all-nighters. You know, we'd be sitting there drinking a bunch of booze, smoking a bunch of cigarettes, just, you know, shooting the shit and having a great time playing Modern Warfare. I remember me and my one buddy, I'm not going to name names, obviously for privacy reasons, but I remember me and him, you know, when we split screen, he'd be sitting there raging. Because I remember this game specifically had a very short TTK, so it was very easy to kind of get, caught off guard and snipe from the side and whatnot. But I have a lot of great memories with the game. Obviously, Warzone also came out during this time. It was around Season 2, Season 3, if I remember correctly, that Warzone finally ended up coming into the game. I remember it happened in March, which was literally like the perfect storm. So obviously, this game came out at the end of 2019, went up through 2020. If you were alive during 2020, you know what happened. I'd hope you were alive during 2020 if you're watching this video. Otherwise, you might want to ask your parents if you're actually allowed to watch this. I have a bit of a foul mouth sometimes. But yeah, man, Modern Warfare 2019, such a fantastic game. Great campaign, great multiplayer, and just all around great memories. The camo ground was pretty great in that game, too. Going for Damascus camo was a lot of fun. Next up, we have the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, a remake of 3 of my most favorite 3D platformers of all time. My favorite Crash Bandicoot game is still Crash to Insanity, of course. That will always be my favorite. The Crash Insane Trilogy, it's obviously a collection of not just some of the best 3D platformers of all time, but since this game is a remake and it kind of like tweaked and tuned some things, it's just like, I would say in the modern landscape, this is probably the best way to go about it. I would still, nostalgia bias says, you know, go back and play the original PS1 versions, because there's a lot of charm of playing that original game, original art style, original intended level design and difficulty and whatnot. But this is basically just that same game, just, you know, with modern graphics and whatnot, and it's a bit more forgiving in some instances. So this is a great place to dive in. And then after this, you also have Crash 4, It's About Time, which basically retcons the rest of the games that happened after the third game in this trilogy, including Twinsanity, unfortunately, which makes me quite sad. We won't talk about that, but still, this is a great collection of games, and I highly recommend it. And it was actually the way that I first played, because obviously I played the Crash games back in the day, but I didn't get around to actually playing the remake until just a few years ago, for one reason or another. And that also comes with 2 bonus levels, Stormy Ascent and Future Tense, which were previously canceled levels, which were re-included in the game. Next up, we have Dark Souls Remastered. It speaks for itself. I didn't get around to playing the Souls games until the end of 2022, but they have gone down. The Souls games and Souls-likes in general are now just some of my favorite games of all time. You know, I love that that genre. I love the overbearing difficulty, and the thing that I love about Souls games isn't just the fact that, yes, they're difficult, they're challenging in a way that is fair. There's always a way to overcome the problems, and I remember, I spoke about it when I made my original Souls series, because I broke down in tears at the end of Dark Souls 1 as well as Dark Souls 3, but especially at the end of 1, because I was genuinely going through a really rough time at the time, and I just... You know, I don't want to go too deep into it and potentially trigger anybody here, but let's just say that I was kind of at the end of my rope in a lot of ways, and I just really was in a really bad and dark spot, and Dark Souls was there at the right time to kick my ass and be like, hey, sure, this game's gonna kick your ass. You know, I died a bed of chaos, Lord only knows how many times. I got pissed off at all these different bosses in the game, you know, as I was trying to learn the mechanics and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I overcame it all, and I beat the fucking game. So... You know, I just, it really taught me an important life lesson of like, yeah, sure, sometimes life's gonna kick your ass and it's gonna kick your ass hard. But if you just keep getting back up and you don't let those things keep you down, at the end of the day, you will win. And guess what? It's 2025, and after everything I've been through, damn it, sure, life's been hard, sure, it's been a bitch, sure, I've been at the end of my rope more times than I can count, even recently, but I'm still here, and damn it if that ain't worth something, you know what I mean? So, if anybody else out there is struggling, keep that in the back of your mind, seriously, at all times. Never forget that. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how cliche it sounds. There's always a way out, and there's always a way to make it through and come out stronger on the other end because of it. Next up, we have a game series that I wish would come back, but I don't know when we're necessarily going to see it again. We had a remaster/remake recently, but I don't know if there's any plans for a new game. I really wish that there was, but this being Dead Rising 3, which is surprisingly still an exclusive to the Xbox One. It never ended up coming to PS4 or PC, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm pretty confident saying it's not on PS4. Not sure if it went to PC. But yeah, this was one of the launch title. It was either a launch title or came out around the launch area of the Xbox One, and yeah, this game is fantastic. It's Dead Rising in all of its Dead Rising glory. You go around killing thousands of zombies, and it's just a great time. You craft weapons, do all this crazy stuff. I remember that game was really gritty, too. Like, I don't know how to explain it. The art style in it was just so gritty and gory, and I loved every bit of it. Next up, we have a really underrated game, in my opinion, that being Dead Rising 4. We have the return of Frank West in this game, and I've always just loved this game. I play it every year around Christmas, and this game is a bit bittersweet for me, and that's probably why I have so much... not just nostalgia bias for it, but also just a lot of love for this game, because for those that don't know a lot about my story, basically, I stopped talking to my dad about 10 years ago. It was one of those things where, yes, we had a lot of good times, but we also had a lot of bad times. We just didn't necessarily see eye to eye. I'm not sure if me and him are ever going to speak again, but, you know, that's just kind of where it is at the moment. But this is the last Christmas present that he got me, actually, if I remember correctly. This was either the last or one of the last, but I remember I was so excited when this game came out. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want this game. I really want this game. And I was just talking about it. I didn't even, like, necessarily, like, outright ask him for it. I was just saying, like, how excited I was for it. I remember watching a bunch of trailers for it, and I remember I went to his house, and this was shortly after he had gotten an Xbox One there at the time. And yeah, then I remember there was like a Christmas present waiting for me, and I opened it, and it was Dead Rising 4, and that day, oh my gosh, I'm actually about to cry. Hold up, give me a minute. I'll never forget being there in the living room, unwrapping it, and just, you know, seeing the game there. I was so excited, flipping it over, see, let the sleigh ride me again. And then I went and put it in the Xbox One, waited for it to download and everything like that, and yeah, I just remember playing it for the rest of the day, and it was such a good time. I remember binging it, and I beat it within, like, I forget, because, you know, I was only at his house on the weekend, so I couldn't just binge it, like, day after day and then, like, you know, beat it or whatever, but it only took me, like, a week or two of being, you know, on those weekends of playing it until I finally beat it, because I just played it that much, and I absolutely love that game. It ended up getting some really cool DLC and costumes and whatnot as well. I'll definitely be returning to that game later this year. It's such an amazing game, really underrated in my opinion, and I just have a lot of love for it. Next up, we have Destiny 2, a interesting case where I got this game back in 2017 at full price. This was actually another one of those Christmas gifts I got back then, because I got this the same year that I got Call of Duty World War II, and yeah, it's just interesting because this game was full price for a while, and it was obviously worth the full price, but then it went free to play, and then, you know, doing the usual Destiny thing where there's a ton of expansions. The one thing I never agreed with on this game was the fact that they decided to vault certain content, like they literally vaulted the one entire expansion, which I just always thought was silly. But yeah, Destiny 2 is a great game, and honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about it just because it's, you know, it's Destiny, right? It's a looter shooter, you kill a bunch of bosses, do a bunch of raids. It's a fun game. I haven't played it in a few years. PlayStation Plus is always giving away a bunch of, like, expansions and such for the game, so maybe I should dive back in, try out some of that stuff. I'll just had to make the time to get to it. There's a lot of other games that I want to get to, obviously, as always. Next up, we have DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition. This is when they tried to westernize Devil May Cry and do a bit of a soft reboot for the series. They even poked a bit of fun at the original Dante towards the beginning of the game, where like a white wig was on his head or whatever, and he's like, nah, and ripped it off. And it was just kind of like, oh, come on, don't diss Dante like that. But I always genuinely loved this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot of great like set pieces and bosses. Like, I can't remember the boss's name for the life of me, but there's this one boss where he, it's like this digital looking world, and it's like this giant floating head, and there's like these lights on the floor or whatever. Can't remember the name of it for the life of me. That's just one of the most memorable parts of this game. I also always loved like the angel and devil weapons, how you had to kind of like switch between those. And this is obviously the definitive edition, because this game was original on Xbox 360, PS3, you know, ran like 720p or 1080p, 30 FPS. But then on here, on Xbox One and PS4, they give it a bit of a touch up, 1080p, 60 FPS, looks, runs great, and yeah. I mean, look at that cover, man. That cover's badass. I always loved DMC, thought it was a great game, always thought it got a bit more hate than it deserved. That being said, I could also understand why some people were disappointed if they were like, okay, after DMC 4, we're really gonna just do a reboot here and not follow up on all that, but I'm glad that they ended up going back and giving us the masterpiece that is Devil May Cry 5, and hopefully we can get a DMC 6 at some point, because with the way they ended off DMC 5, that is like a decent place to say, okay, you know, we did our thing, but I also think there is also obviously always room for more. Next up, we got Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and there's a lot of Call of Duties coming up, so I'll just kind of give my brief thoughts on each of these CODs as we go, because there is a lot of these. But this was the first Exo Movement Call of Duty game, and this has always been home to some of my favorite things in the Call of Duty franchise. The campaign in this game is amazing. Kevin Spacey's literally the main villain. I always thought the ending was really cool, where you're like, you know, he's like hanging onto your arm or whatever. Won't spoil all of it, but I always thought that ending was really cool. The multiplayer was a lot of fun in this game, have a lot of memories with it, and I always thought, again, the Exo Movement was really cool, being able to like double jump and dash through the air, and the camo grinds in this game were pretty easy as well. Getting gold and all the other camos were quite easy, but still a lot of fun, and Exo Zombies was a really cool innovation. And we finally saw the return of survival from MW3 in a way with Exo Survival, and that was where they teased Exo Zombies. Actually, if you completed all of those, you're able to play a bit of Exo Zombies at the end of it, and then we had 4 solid maps throughout the DLC season, so yeah, if I had to pick a favorite Exo Zombies map, I'd probably say Descent was my favorite one, just because that wonder weapon in that map, and the boss fights were really cool as well. But the wonder weapon, you know, you shoot it just like beep, 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 bounces all over the wall, ricochets everywhere. Always thought that was really cool. So yeah, Advanced Warfare is a fantastic game. That's one that I do want to go back and replay here soon, even though I just replayed it a few years ago. Love it so much. I don't have that Call of Duty on PS4 yet specifically, so I think I want to buy it there as well, because I'm that type of guy where every time I buy a console, I need to buy every Call of Duty that ever released for it, just because I love Call of Duty. Next up, we have Call of Duty Ghosts, which was the first Call of Duty that released during this generation. Actually, remember, it released a bit before the generation, so if you wanted to be there on day one, you had to get it on Xbox 360 and PS3. I had it day one on Xbox 360. And then you could do what they basically do now, where it's like, oh, pay an extra $10, and then you can like upgrade it to the Xbox One / PS4 version. This was also during that time where they still had the stupid exclusivity where like some consoles would get DLC first. So like for a while, Xbox got it during like the 360 generation, then during the PS4 generation for most of it. You know, the PS4 ended up getting the DLCs first and whatnot. So this was one of those situations where the game technically ran better on PlayStation 4 just because it was a more capable system. But it ran competently on both of its systems. It's just that the PS4 was a bit more powerful, so it ran the game better, but Xbox got the DLCs first, so it's sort of like a pick and pull, you know, like a push and pull, like, okay, which one do I want? But I do gotta say, Call of Duty Ghosts is really fun. The multiplayer just felt like a more futuristic-y version of the Modern Warfare stuff, and with, you know, a spin on it with the perks. Extinction mode was really cool in there. I'd love to see that return in some form or fashion. We did see elements of that in Infinite Warfare Zombies, but I'd still love just like a full return to Extinction at some point, just even if it's like a small little side mode they dabble in. And then the campaign was really awesome in this game. It makes me sad that it left off on a cliffhanger, and we'll probably never know what happened afterwards. Still really heartbroken about that. If we could get a Ghost 2 one day, just to, you know, tie up some loose ends, as General Shepard would say, then I'd appreciate that. Next up, we got Bulletstorm, which is just a really rad shooter from the Xbox 360 / PS3 generation that ended up getting a bit of a touch up here during the Xbox One and PS4 generation, which happened to a lot of games. You know, into the Xbox One and PS4 generation, a lot of games ended up getting remastered in some way. Ooh. There's something actually wrong with this case. It doesn't click all the way for some reason, which is strange because I'm pretty sure I bought this game brand new. Oh, dude, I wonder if I used this code yet. There's like a Duke Nukem thing in here, because obviously this is made by the same people that like published Duke Nukem and whatnot. This game is really cool though. It's super flashy, super gory, a lot of great action. If you haven't played it before, I highly recommend it. It also has a bit of that, you know, that Xbox 360, PS3 charm where it's very crude, but also very hard, sort of with like that Gears of War type of attitude, you know what I mean? Awesome game. Also, we have four bangers to knock out right here. So we got Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel, and then Borderlands 3. 4 fantastic games right here, and I'm so excited for Borderlands 4, just to date this video a little bit. That game is going to be fantastic. I don't really know what to say about these games. I love these games so much. I literally have a Borderlands poster right on my wall right over there. I know you guys can't really see it because it's out of frame, but I love Borderlands so much. Between the humor, the looting and shooting, you know, the characters in the game, like, come on. Everybody loves Claptrap. And overall, I know some people have opinions about, say, like, Borderlands. Oh, that's why my nose is running. I was wondering, like, why is my nose running all of a sudden? It's because there's freaking dust all over these games, bro. Because they've, you know, it's just been sitting in my collection for a while. Because I've already beat all these games years ago, so I haven't, like, been able to pull them back out in a while. But that's why my nose is running so much. Yeah, that's the one thing about being a video game collector. You really gotta remember to dust your stuff. And unfortunately, I don't have the best tendency of doing that. Like, literally behind my TV. I was talking about it in my new TV is effed video. I moved here 5 years ago, and I hadn't dusted behind my TV in 5 years, so you can only imagine how that went. But no matter what anybody says about Borderlands 3, I've always loved... Oh, dude, that cover is so cool. It's actually really shiny and whatnot. But I've always loved Borderlands 3. I don't care what anybody says. It is a fantastic game. Do I prefer Handsome Jack as a villain over the twins? Of course I do. But it's Handsome Jack, like, how could you not? So, you know, Borderlands 3 is still fantastic. And in terms of the gameplay, like, Borderlands 3, I mean, we have yet to play Borderlands 4, so it's hard to say, but in my opinion, Borderlands 3 is peak, at least in terms of the gameplay. Next up, we have Battlefield 1, which is one of the best first-person shooters of all time. It's very cinematic. The campaign in this game was really cool because it wasn't just one long, continuous story. It was actually a bunch of mini-stories broken up into, like, war stories and whatnot that kind of form, like, the bigger picture of World War I, and they ended up carrying that into Battlefield 5, which is pretty cool, but... yeah, Battlefield 1 is a fantastic game. I believe the multiplayer is still somewhat alive. This is one of those games where every match truly feels unique, because you never know what's going to happen. It could be a basic match where you're just running around shooting people. The giant blimps could be on fire and, like, falling out of the sky. I don't know. You could sit back with your sniper and be sniping the enemy, or you could run around like a maniac, with, you know, like bayonet charging into people. And this is also the early Enlisted Deluxe Edition, because I remember back in 2016, because that was the year that I finally got my Xbox One. I pre-ordered Infinite Warfare, and I got my Xbox One the same day that Infinite Warfare launched, because I got the Legacy Edition of that, which you guys will actually see here in a little bit when I show it off. And, yeah, that year for Christmas, I was like, man, Battlefield 1 just came out, I really want it. So my mom didn't just give me Battlefield 1, she got me the deluxe edition of it, which I just thought was so fucking gnarly. And yeah, I was really thankful to her for getting me that game. And it's also crazy to think that this game is almost 9 years old already. Like, that's absolutely insane. But, yeah, man, Battlefield 1 is such a fantastic game. If you haven't played it before, you have to. It's one of those games that... why are these games stuck together? Goodness. Anyway, it's one of those games that goes on sale all the time, so you can easily get it for really cheap. Also, yeah, this game's really... oh, there was a sticker on the back of this one. Damn GameStop stickers. Anyway, this is Battleborn. There's not much to say about this because this game is literally dead. Like, not just, oh, nobody plays it. Like, no, it's shut down. You literally can't play it ever again. It was supposed to be a hero shooter, but... you literally can't play it ever again, so there's not much to be said about that one, unfortunately. Next up, we have the spiritual successor to Saints Row, Agents of Mayhem. I always dug this game. It's a lot of fun. You can switch between a bunch of characters. It has an open world and whatnot. How do I explain this game? It's fun. It has a cool story. But it really just does kind of feel like a hero shooter in third person, and it's like Overwatch in third person almost, but it's like Saints Row, and there's like a story to follow and whatnot. It's a fun game, but unfortunately it never got another entry or any DLC or anything, so we didn't really get to see, like, I don't know, like where this was supposed to go, you know what I mean? We just kind of got this game, and it didn't really jive with a lot of people, so now you constantly see it in bargain bins, or, you know, on sale on PS Plus or Xbox One for like $1 to $2. Next up, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 3. The campaign in this game is a bit divisive, though I always loved it just because, well, yes, on the surface, when you first play it, it's kind of hard to know what's actually going on in the story because it's very cryptic. Once you do some research and find out what the story is about, it's actually quite beautiful, like genuinely a masterpiece, and it's one of the best stories that Call of Duty has ever told. It's very in-depth and not your surface level action hero shooter type stuff that you normally expect from Call of Duty. Dude, I'm literally crying right now. The dust, dude, the dust flying back here. It's freaking bugging out my system. Anyway. Yeah, Black Ops 3, I mean, like, it's one of the best Call of Duties of all time, man. I mean, again, the campaign may be a little divisive, but beyond that, the multiplayer is fantastic. Sure, the pay-to-win elements of, like, the weapons being locked behind supply drops, because sure, you could say, well, that's not really pay-to-win, it's just weapons being locked behind giant paywalls, but it's still just like, But the zombies in this game is...
I would say objectively the best bang for buck when it comes to zombies of any Call of Duty package, because while yes, there's other games where, you know, for example, Black Ops 2 is my favorite zombies experience, it's hard to deny that Black Ops 3 is probably the overall best in bang for buck, because again, you have 14 maps inside of there. You have almost every map from Black Ops 1, every map from World at War, one of the best maps from Black Ops 2, Origins, all of the Black Ops 3 maps, like, come on, man. All of that inside of one package. It's hard to deny, not to mention the fact that the engine and the gameplay and everything just felt so smooth in Black Ops 3. I constantly go back to that game. Such a fantastic Call of Duty experience. Next up, we have the first game that I got with my Xbox One, that being Infinite Warfare, the Legacy Edition that also comes with Modern Warfare Remastered. I remember I wanted an Xbox One so bad. It was 2016. I was like, dude, what am I doing? It's 3 years into the gen. I need this Xbox so bad. So I saved up all my money, and my mom helped me get that Xbox One for my birthday, and then I put the money down for Infinite Warfare Legacy Edition, which was like $80 or something like that. I remember working my butt off to get that money, man. There was like birthday money. I remember mowing some lawns and just like saving my money and whatnot. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. There's like plastic on the edge of it still from like 9 years ago that I'm peeling off at the moment. Infinite Warfare is a fantastic Call of Duty. The campaign, I mean, overall, Infinite Warfare is super underrated. I mean, the campaign is absolutely fantastic. The ending puts me in tears every time that I go back to play the campaign. The multiplayer is basically just a more refined version of Black Ops 3, which I always felt like, you know, like Black Ops 3 was obviously a very smooth game, but I just felt like Infinite Warfare took it to the next level and was like, okay, this feels like so smooth. Like, it felt so good. I really would have loved to see maybe another futuristic Call of Duty where they could have iterated on it even more, because it just felt that good to play. I really like the monetization systems in the game as well. Like, the supply drops were actually really fair, because while yes, they still had, you know, supply drops in the game, there was random chance for a lot of things, there was still a way to actually like, if you say you didn't get the stuff you want, there were still systems in place to eventually craft or get the things that you'd want. So, and there was also like challenges you could do to unlock new weapons and whatnot. So I really like the way they handled things in Infinite Warfare, and subsequently the Call of Duties after that, like World War II and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. Because while yes, there was still an element of that pay to win or that random chance of getting what you actually want, at the end of the day, you could actually eventually get the stuff you want, which I thought was pretty cool. And then Modern Warfare Remastered, I mean, they call it Remastered, but let's be honest, it's a remake, and it's one of the best remakes that I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because like, in terms of just sheer fidelity and graphics, in my opinion, when you look at the original COD 4 and then you look at Modern Warfare Remastered, one of the best remakes ever. But then you look at the multiplayer experience and the way that they monetized the hell out of it, changed it, charged and doubled down on like the whole DLC pack. I don't know, man. That was a little. I don't know how to feel about that. That was a little iffy, but. Outside of that, when you just look at the campaign and the multiplayer on the gameplay front, basically like the perfect remaster slash remake slash whatever they try to call it. It's a remake, but they call it a remaster. Even the gaming companies don't know what to call this stuff. Just to kind of clear the air here. A remaster is when you take the original game, original assets, and you don't do anything to them, basically. You just kind of bump up the resolution, bump up the frame rate. It's just a basic remaster. A remake is when you take those original assets and then either recreate them or dramatically change them to make them look entirely new. Think Modern Warfare Remastered, which is actually a remake. And then you have reimaginings, like Resident Evil 2. Everybody calls it Resident Evil 2 Remake, which, you know, that's fair enough. I call it that as well, but it's actually technically Resident Evil 2 Reimagined, or like a reimagining of Resident Evil 2, because it's an entirely new game from the PS1 original, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's the brief history lesson. But anyway, yeah, love Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. Fantastic games, even if I feel a little divisive about some of the monetization practices, which is also something I could say about World War II here. The monetization was, I mean, honestly, it didn't really even feel that bad in this game. Like, honestly, it was like, sure, supply drops are in the game, but there's so many ways to unlock all the different things in this game that I honestly think this was the perfect balance of new school monetization and old school monetization. You know, even nowadays, if you go back to get into the game, right, there's still ways to get all the crazy cool skins in the game, and there's like double XP on basically all the time for World War II, so you can grind out there all the prestiges nowadays you want. All the weapons of the game are great. The camo grind's a lot of fun and whatnot. And Call of Duty World War II is just a fantastic game overall, man. The campaign's a lot of fun. The multiplayer was great. The zombies was freaking gnarly in this game, man. The final Reich, that map is so good. The Easter egg is so good. The boss fight is so good. I always love the little jump scares around the map. I just always love Call of Duty World War II, man. This game is fantastic. I remember this was the year where my uncle actually started getting into it. At the time, he was in his late 40s, and now he's in his 50s, and he still sticks with it. Like, he still plays Black Ops 6 and whatnot. So, you know, it was just really cool seeing this kind of be that return to form, back to, like, the boots on the ground and everything, because obviously Infinite Warfare was the last futuristic COD that we had after a string of 3 futuristic CODs back to back. So this was like the true return to form, taking Call of Duty back to its very roots, because Call of Duty originally started as like World War II first-person shooter. And yeah, I just have a lot of love for this game. Also, I forget if I talked about the zombies here in Infinite Warfare, but the zombies in Infinite Warfare was also fantastic. And the super Easter egg in it with like the big final boss fight and everything, absolutely insane. Now, I wish I had Black Ops 4 physically, but I do not. I only ever had that game digitally, so I'm not able to show that one off. I actually have it digitally on both Xbox and PlayStation, because PlayStation gave it away for free with PS Plus, and then Xbox, I just got it digitally back in 2018. Next up, we got Far Cry Primal, which is one of my favorite, not just Far Cry games, but one of my favorite games from this generation, period. This game is so freaking cool, dude, because obviously you have normal Far Cry games like here, Far Cry 5, for example, where it's first-person shooter, open world, you know, you drive around shooting guys, capturing outposts and whatnot, and while you still kind of have some of that retained here in Far Cry Primal, I mean, dog, you're literally, like, running around, beating the shit out of people in clubs. Like, it's literally, the name speaks for itself, bro. This is, like, caveman stuff. They, like, have their own language in the game. You got single-handed clubs, double-handed clubs. You got, like, this makeshift, like, grappling hook that you can use to, like, swing around the environments. You can tame, like, giant, oh god, what the hell can you even tame in this game again? There's like mammoths and tigers and wolves and whatnot. Some of the animals you can just have fight alongside you, like the wolves, but then there's some like the tigers and the mammoths and whatnot that you can actually like ride around, and it's so cool, dude. I love Far Cry Primal so much. I like going hunting in this game and whatnot. I remember me and my younger brother, because at the time he would have been like, oh god, I don't even know how old he would have been when this game came out. But I remember me and him used to just sit there passing the controller back and forth, and we'd like go hunting, seeing what animals we could get, like creeping up on animals and really just living like that caveman life. I remember there was a time where I didn't even want to beat the game, because I didn't want the story to end. I didn't want my experience with this game to end, so I literally just kept playing it. I just kept running around, just living my life simulator as a caveman. I really had the itching to go back and play it again at some point, so I'm definitely going to. But man, Far Cry Primal is fantastic. And while we're talking about Far Cry, we'll just go ahead and knock out Far Cry 5. One of the best Far Cry games ever made. This game is freaking amazing. The endings, no matter which ending you get, whether you get the good or the bad one, it's gonna leave you just I know for me, like, I just sat there, jaw dropped, holding the controller like, was that the good or the bad ending? And then I went and looked up all the endings for the game, and I was like, well, I still don't know which ending I got. I mean, I got the good ending, like, of the endings you can get. I technically got the good one, but still, it's like, holy crap. Definitely a game that'll kind of mess with your mind, and while it's still kind of clear in a sense, like, who the good guys and who the bad guys are, it's still just enough to kind of make you question, like, wait a minute, but it's not completely black and white, and that's one of the things I love about Far Cry. Their villains aren't just black and white. It's very, there's a lot of gray area. Like, there's a lot of gray areas to the actions you do in the game, but there's also a lot of gray area to what the villains do in the game. I didn't want to say anything, but when I was moving my hands all around, I accidentally ended up ball tapping myself. Excuse me a minute, I'm in a lot of pain right now. Ooh, we got a cool one next. Next up, we got Final Fantasy Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. This game is so freaking gnarly. And you may be wondering, grotesque, how come it's a Peggy label and this, that, or the other? Well, you see, I actually had to print out this cover art because originally when I got sent the game, they just gave me the disc, which, you know, I was sitting there and I was like, dude, I'm not taking this for an answer, so I printed out my own cover, and this was the only decent quality one I could find. I'm just gonna buy the game again at some point, because this cover is BS. It looks fine enough on the shelf, but fine enough isn't good enough for me. It needs to be the actual thing. But anyway, yeah, this game's really gnarly, dude. There's, like, the action in this game is absolutely insane. This is one of those games where I honestly don't want to say a whole lot about it, because the less you know about it before going into it, the better. Just know that you're in for one hell of a time if you decide to play Final Fantasy Type 0. And if you're the type of person that has only played, like, say, the main Final Fantasy games, you know, like, you know, one of the numbered entries, and haven't delved into one of the spin-offs yet, this is definitely a great way to dip your toes in the water, just see what the rest of the Final Fantasy universe has to offer, because while the main games are great, and they're all very varied in their own ways, right? Like, playing Final Fantasy 7 compared to, say, 15 or 10 or 13 or 8 or 9, like, they all feel completely different, so you do get a completely different experience every time. But when you take that and then you go play something like, say, Final Fantasy Type 0, it's just like an entirely different world. And then you have the different games like the City of Final Fantasy games, World of Final Fantasy, for example, so there's a lot to... Oh, then you got, like, Chocobo Kart if you really want to go out there, or Chocobo GP. But Type 0 is a great way to kind of dip your toes into the extended Final Fantasy universe. Ooh, this one's a cool one. Geometry Wars 3 Dimensions Evolved. This is a shmup, aka a shoot 'em up. And for those that don't know, I love my shmups so much. Think the R-Type, the Raiden series. Oh, for some reason the name is escaping me at the moment. It's still early in the morning. What's that game called? It's on Vita and PS4. I played it. It's the one made by
Housemark, and it's like, it goes in circles. It's not called Res, is it? No, what the hell is it called?
Resogun, that's the one, I was close. Yes, Resogun, that is definitely one. Yeah, Resogun, that's like one of my favorite first-person shooters, period. And then the Super Stardust. Yes, Stardust is another one, like Stardust Delta, and then Super Stardust, like Portable or whatever. Like, that's also one of my favorite shmups of all time. Love this game so much. But yeah, going back to Geometry Wars here, it's just a great shmup. It's just a great time. Next up, we have Grand Theft Auto 5. I don't think there's a whole lot I gotta say about this, right? It's GTA 5. The story in this game is one of my favorite GTA stories of all time. I've gone back to replay it many, many times. The online in this game is still getting updates. Still getting sported, a lot of great memories with it. Sure, everybody else can relate. GTA 5, fantastic game. So excited for GTA 6. Next up, we got Halo, the Master Chief Collection, which includes six. Sorry, I was like counting them all in my head real quick. 6 amazing Halo games. You got 1, 2, 3, ODST, 4, and Reach. 6 amazing games right there. And it's pretty cool how Xbox One is literally the definitive place. Hold on, I gotta grab, because this one is both Xbox One and Series X. The Xbox One's literally like the definitive place for Halo games. You got all of them here. You got Halo 5, you got Halo Infinite, then you got spin-offs like, you know, Halo, the Spartan Assault, the Halo Wars, all that different stuff. I still gotta get the Halo Wars games physically. Those are just ones that I ended up playing on Game Pass again because, well, actually, the original Halo Wars came out on 360 back in the day, but then they ended up doing a definitive edition remaster of sorts, putting it on Xbox One, and then, you know, they added it to Game Pass, of course, so I was able to play it that way there, too. But anyway, yeah, obviously, the Halo game speaks for themselves. 1 through 4 plus Reach and ODST, 5 and 6, aka Infinite. Halo 1 is still my favorite Halo game, just, you know, going back. I go back to replay that campaign a lot, and it was actually my younger brother's, not his first experience with Halo, but his first time really getting into it, because I plugged in my original Xbox, turned it on, put in Halo, handed him the controller, and I was like, buddy, oh, and I also turned on the surround sound so he could be like fully immersed in the moment, and I was like, buddy, you're about to experience Halo. I booted him into that first mission, and not even 5 minutes into the game, he fell in love just the same way that I did years ago when I was when I was still a young kid playing Halo and whatnot. And yeah, man, I love this series so much. Combat Evolved is still my favorite, but all the games are absolutely fantastic. I mean, Halo 2 is iconic, Halo 3 is fantastic. All the Halo games are great. Like, what are we saying here? Sure, I know 4, 5, and 6 are a bit divisive, but at the end of the day, it's Halo. They're all freaking great games. And Infinite, in terms of the post-launch support, sure, it was a little slow to get started, at the beginning. There was a period where the one season, like Season 2, went on for like 8 or 9 months or whatever, but especially with Forge being added to the game and a lot of the other content that's been added to the game since, them relying on the community to help with content and whatnot, and just, the work that 343 is putting in the game, which is actually, they got renamed. What's their name now? Isn't it like Halo Industries or the Halo Studio? Yeah, now their name is literally just Halo Studio. So, they've done good work on Infinite. It was obviously a bit rough at the beginning, and you can't necessarily blame it all entirely on 343, because if you know the history behind the game and the developmental pressure and the contractors coming in to work on the game, it was a whole disaster for the devs behind the scenes. So if you don't know about that, I'd recommend doing some research on that and just kind of learning the history behind this game and how it came to be. But all in all, Xbox One / by proxy Series X and S is the place to be for Halo if you just want all the Halo goodness all in one place, because obviously Xbox, the Series consoles are backwards compatible, so you can play them all there. Next up, we got Hitman Definitive Edition, the first in the new World of Assassination trilogy. This includes all of the episodes on the disc, because this was the time when they were releasing all of the Hitman games in like episodic order, basically. And I believe in Hitman 3, you're able to just basically get all the levels in that game, so you can just play all 3 of the Hitman games inside of Hitman 3, which is pretty cool. But I'm one of those people where I just like to go back to that original experience, even if it's technically on the same engine. Like, I don't care. I just want to go back and play them all individually. Hitman 1, and then 2, and then 3. But these games are freaking awesome, man. They're a great reboot for the series. They're super cinematic. It almost gives me the vibes of like the Modern Warfare reboot, how that one's like very cinematic and almost like a movie and just very grounded and gritty and whatnot, but there's still like a lot of fun to be had. This one, it's very similar in that way, and I just love how the game really relies on its sandbox elements and just really sets you loose to do whatever you want to, you can complete the missions in whatever way that you want, take out the people in whatever way that you want, kill basically whoever you want, and, just play by your own rules. I absolutely love that about it. Personally speaking, I would say that Absolution is probably still my favorite Hitman game. Probably some nostalgia bias there, but still, the new trilogy is freaking fantastic. Next up, we got the LEGO Marvel Collection, which includes LEGO Marvel Superheroes 1, 2, and LEGO Avengers. I love my LEGO games. I love LEGO games so much. I've loved LEGO games since I was a kid, growing up like LEGO Batman, LEGO Star Wars, LEGO Indiana Jones, and all those other amazing LEGO games. I just love LEGO games so much. This is one of them I picked up a few years ago, like, hey, I played Lego Marvel Superheroes back in like 2014, hadn't really gotten around to play the other ones just yet at that point, so then I was like, you know what, I'll just go through and binge them, and I did. Had a great time with those games, as always. And these are some of the Lego games that actually have voice acting in them, because for a while, Lego games didn't have voice acting up until Lego Batman 2, and then everything after Lego Batman 2 had voice acting, and these were those games. Lego Avengers was actually one of those games where they had, basically, they just rip audio from the movie, and then use those as audio clips in the game. And it actually works surprisingly well, so, you know, that was pretty cool. Next up, we have my favorite game of all time, Resident Evil 4. If I'm buying a console, I'm buying Resident Evil 4, and this is obviously the case here with the Xbox One. If I went over to my shelf and grabbed all the copies of Resident Evil 4 that I have, I could probably make an entire video on just my various versions of Resident Evil 4. I even have the more niche and obscure versions, such as the mobile version of it on my iPod Touch. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite Resident Evil of all time, it is my favorite video game of all time, and this game is home. Anytime that I'm feeling sad, mad, happy, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what emotion I'm feeling. If I'm in any kind of mood, Resident Evil 4 will only make me happy, and if I'm already happy, it'll just make me happier. I just love this game, and it makes me feel safe. When I pop the game in, I play it, I listen to the soundtrack, I just play through it. This game is home to me. I love Resident Evil 4 so much. Next up, staying on the Resident Evil train, we have Resident Evil Revelations, which was originally a 3DS game, but then later on got ported to basically all the consoles: Xbox 360, PS3, PC, Wii U, Xbox One, PS4. Yeah, it's even on Switch now. So yeah, you know, it basically went to all the consoles after that. And this game is really cool because originally, while yes, it was on a 3DS, they adapted a lot of the mechanics in that game to work on consoles. So for example, instead of the camera going into first person like it would back then on the 3DS, now it just kind of stays in that third person perspective just to make it feel like a bit more uniform when you're playing on console and whatnot. Though, there may be an option in the settings to actually re-enable that first-person mode. I'm not sure, because I always thought that first-person mode was pretty cool and just kind of like part of the game's charm. But yeah, Resident Evil Revelations, it's a really cool game. You play as Jill in the game, aka my wife. You also get to play as Chris at various points in the game, and it kind of like, you know, goes back and forth. And yeah, man, Resident Evil Revelations is really cool, and Revelations 2 is also really cool. I ended up picking that one up. I had that one on disc on Xbox 360 back in the day. I'm pretty sure that was one of those things where I stupidly ended up trading it into GameStop for some reason when I was trying to get money for something else. But then I ended up buying it again digitally on Xbox One down the line. And yeah, Revelations 2 is actually one of my favorite Resident Evil games as well. That game is really cool. The art style in that game is amazing, and the story in it's freaking awesome. Next up, we have Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition, aka the game that even makes me, a grown man, cry and piss myself in the middle of the night, because oh my god, dude. The first time I played this game, I had an anxiety attack so bad that I had to set the controller down and walk away for like 30 minutes. It was the part where you go in the garage and like, well, actually no, it first happened during the house when Jack Baker was chasing me. That was like my first panic attack or whatever. Sorry if my eyes are bugging out, the dust back here is really getting to me. But I had that first panic attack when he was chasing me around the house. I was like, no, this is not happening. I got so scared I had to pause the game a few times. And then that part in the garage where he's like jumping on the car and like making it like drive into the wall or whatever. I got so panicked that I had to put the controller down for like 30 minutes and just go walk around my house for a minute, drink some water. I lost it. I did finally eventually end up getting back to the game though. I didn't beat it on Xbox One. I ended up beating it on PS4. I literally just like repurchased the game at some point on PS4, and I was like, all right, we're doing this thing. I'm sitting down. I'm getting this game done. So I did eventually end up beating it, and holy crap, man. Resident Evil 7 is a fantastic game. One of the best Resident Evil games ever made. One of the most terrifying Resident Evil games ever made. I will say in some ways, like, it's very interesting because at the beginning, it feels less like Resident Evil and more like Outlast in a way. You know, you're just kind of like running from the enemy and doing your best to survive. But by the end of the game, oh yeah. It's definitely a Resident Evil game, especially like once you get towards like the ship and you're just kind of like creeping around, trying to conserve your ammo as you're like, you know, fending off against the enemies, solving environmental puzzles and whatnot, finding your way around the ship and whatnot. And yeah, Resident Evil 7's freaking awesome, man. Next up, we got The Crew 2. I'm still really bummed that they shut down The Crew 1. That game was absolutely fantastic. I have so many memories playing The Crew 1, but alas, that's just how it is in this new digital age of always online games. The progress that you make in these always online games doesn't mean a whole lot once the games are inevitably shut down in a few years, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, well, okay, that happened. But anyway, The Crew 2, at least this one's still alive. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's basically a game where you can, it's basically Forza Horizon, right? Like, you can free roam around this giant open world, except the open world in the Crew games is literally the entirety of the United States. Is it a one-to-one scale? Of course not. It's a bit shrunken down and whatnot, but it's still an absolutely massive freaking map. And there's nothing that I used to love more than just getting on the Crew 1 and just peacefully driving around. You know what I mean? Just driving around the world, taking in all the sights and sounds, and you can still do that on the Crew 2, but I'm sorry. There was just something about the Crew 1 where it had like the Need for Speed vibes to it almost, whereas this one feels a bit more like Forza Horizon, whereas that first one felt more undergroundy in a way, and I just I don't know, man. I wish we could get the Crew 1 back somehow. I'm sure with community efforts, maybe one day we could see a revival effort in some way, but I feel like that's a bit far off in the future, realistically speaking. Next up, we have The Evil Within 2, which The Evil Within, in my opinion, are some of the most underrated horror games of all time, and it's really unfortunate that we'll probably never see a Evil Within 3, especially just because Tango Gameworks has been going through a lot in the last couple of years, if you know, you know, with them basically almost being shut down, but then brought back from the brink of death literally last second. Even, you know, it was just a really complicated situation because Microsoft was saying that they needed, like, best-selling, award-winning games, and then Tango Gameworks made exactly that with Hi-Fi Rush, and then it was just like a whole thing behind the scenes. Complete mess. Anyway, I'm glad that Tango Gameworks is under different ownership now where they can just exist. And it seems like right now they're kind of just bunkered down, trapped down, working on Hi-Fi Rush 2 or whatever they're working on next, so that's awesome. But yeah, just talk about the Evil Within more specifically. The Evil Within, to me, always felt like Resident Evil 4 with the horror aspects bumped up a little bit more, and then the Evil Within 2 feels like a mix of The Last of Us meets Resident Evil meets just elements from the first game, basically. I will say the first Evil Within, though, it does feel a lot more like the action-heavy stuff from, you know, like Resident Evil 5 or 6, for example. By the end of it, it just gets, like, crazy with the turret sections and whatnot. But the Evil Within 2, you might be confused as to why I'm saying Last of Us, because it's not exactly like The Last of Us. It's just, you know, the stealthy crafting aspects of it. It just makes you feel like you're in, like, a Last of Us type thing with the way you're kind of, like, creeping around the open world / open level design. The Evil Within, both 1 and 2, are freaking awesome. The Evil Within 1 terrified me a number of times, and there was definitely plenty of things inside of the Evil Within 2 that creeped the heck out of me. And by the end of the game, man, it really gets you in the heart. There's a lot of great moments inside of this game, and I highly recommend playing through the Evil Within 1 and 2 if you haven't before. They are fantastic games. Next up, we got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which I know is a bit of a divisive entry in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, but personally, I've always really enjoyed it. Being able to skate around as the turtles was always really cool, and overall, I thought the art style in this game was really cool as well. I remember this game came out at an interesting time because, ooh, what the heck? For some reason, the cover art's, like, torn at the bottom. That's weird. I'll have to replace that at some point. But anyway, yeah, this came out basically at a point where it's still released on, like, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but it also came out on, like, the Xbox One and PS4. But it's just an interesting case because this one came out a bit later, so most people don't even know that there was a last-gen version of the game, but there was. But, yeah, I don't care what anybody says. I always really enjoyed this game. I thought the soundtrack was really cool, and overall, yeah, just a fantastic game. At the time of recording this, we have the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remakes coming up here soon, which I'm really excited for. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with 1 and 2, so I'm really excited to see how they handle 3 and 4. Obviously, they were changing some elements of it by knocking out the career mode and such, but still, very excited for it nonetheless. Really glad to see that the Tony Hawk games are coming back and that there's so much excitement for them, because really, the excitement for them never went away. It's just that I don't know, Activision was being Activision for some reason. But now it seems like it's coming back. There's a bunch of skating games coming out again, so we're finally having that resurgence, and I'm just so happy, because I grew up on, like, the PS1 Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 games, specifically. So, you know, I just really love those games. And then, obviously, I went on to play, like, 3 and 4 on the PS2, and then there was this one game called Disney's Epic Adventure, I believe it was called. It was made off of either the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 or 4 engine, but you could basically just play, like, Disney characters inside of it, inside of various Disney levels, like Andy's Room from Toy Story and different things from The Lion King and whatnot. And it was just a really cool game. If you haven't seen gameplay of it before, I recommend looking it up. It was a really cool game, and I still have it on my PS2. It's such a fun and nostalgic game. Next up, we have Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is right in the middle of the Tomb Raider trilogy. It's kind of interesting because I have Tomb Raider 1, like the 2013 reboot. I have that one digitally, I have this one physically, and then I Shadow the Tomb Raider digitally. So, you know, I just gotta specifically have this one. But yeah, this game is fantastic, as is the whole trilogy. Lara Croft, you know, we always be simping for Lara Croft. It don't matter if it's the newer, higher fidelity version of Lara Croft or the PS1 one with, triangles for booba. We always be sipping for Lara Croft, dude. But yeah, man, this entire trilogy is fantastic. So if you haven't played them before, another game that I highly another set of games that I highly recommend diving into. Sorry, we're getting to, like, the hour mark here on the recording. My brain's just starting to fry out here. But yeah, the new Tomb Raider trilogy is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. Next up, we got Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. This is a game that I played a lot back in the day. Between, like, 2015 to 2018, somewhere in there, I used to play it a lot. My main was Tachanka on Defender, and then I mained Ash on offense. I played it again a few months ago, but then my Ubisoft account got hacked, so I don't even know if all my progress is still in there, and if it's not, I'd be kind of pissed off, because that was my account from, like, you know, a long time ago. So I'm going to see if that's still there. And then we have Rainbow Six Siege X coming out here soon, so I mean, if I have to restart, is what it is. I'll just kind of pick up there and just do my thing. It would still just piss me off if I actually had to restart after all that, but yeah. Siege is a lot of fun. It's not a game that I ever got particularly good at by any means, but I still just have a lot of fun playing it. It's a fun game. I also love just watching, like, different YouTubers and stuff play say. Like, you always see all those, like, funny clips on, like, Instagram and YouTube Shorts and TikTok and whatnot, of just a bunch of white dudes laughing their ass off as they're playing the game and cracking jokes, and that's, like, that's one of my favorite genres of video on YouTube. Bunch of white guys think thing is funny and laugh their ass off, and I just dropped my game. Next up, we got Tom Clancy's The Division, which is a really cool third-person looter shooter. Okay, here's the thing. The Division 2 is a really cool game, but I always prefer The Division 1 simply due to the aesthetics of it being New York City, and there's just, like, snow all over the place, just because I've always loved snow. I don't really like being in the snow, and I don't really like, you know, when it's, like, snowing outside, it's all icy, you fall on your ass and all this, but I always just love the aesthetic of snow. Like, I love when it's snowing and you go outside and it's just absolutely silent outside, you know what I mean? I've always loved that. Unfortunately, I haven't seen snow in like 5 years because I live in Florida and it just never snows here. I do want to move at some point to somewhere where it at least snows occasionally in the winter and whatnot. But anyway, getting back on topic here. Yeah, the Division 1, it's a really great game, right? Like, graphically speaking, artistically speaking, again, with that snowy New York environment. And then the looting and shooting aspects of the game were just always a lot of fun, too. Obviously, it's a Tom Clancy game, so of course the shooting is on point. And when it comes to the loot, it has that really fun and satisfying loop where you're constantly killing enemies, picking up their weapons, finding different rarities. You got, you know, your usual, like, common, green, blue, purple, orange, etc. And one thing I always loved about this game, since I'm mostly a solo gamer, is you can play the game entirely solo, or you can squad up with your friends. I really like games that do that, where you kind of have that option. I will say, though, I never got into the PvP in this game, just because usually if there's a PvP scene for a game, I just don't get into it. I'm much more of a do my own thing, solo, PvE kind of guy. I mean, it depends, right? Because, I play Call of Duty, and that directly, like, goes against that, but I don't know. Call of Duty's different. Call of Duty's just always been my thing, you know what I mean? So that's the one aspect where I'm cool with doing PvP, but I think that's because it's just more like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like PvP just works there for me, whereas when it gets like ultra competitive and, you know, sweaty in the nuts like this, I just just rather stick to the PvE element, stick to the loot and shoot and whatnot. But yeah, the Division 1 and 2, fantastic games. And Ubisoft has even been showing quite the commitment to updating, like, The Division 2 and upcoming Division projects, which is really cool to see, because that is a really cool IP. And finally, we got Watch Dogs 2. This game is really cool, right, because it basically took everything from Watch Dogs 1 on the gameplay front, refined it a bit, added some more to it, gave you a lot more, like, customization options and whatnot, but it also lightened the tone a good bit, so this game feels a lot more like, say, something like GTA 5 in a way where the tone's a bit lighter. Gets a bit darker at some points when it needs to, but for the most part, it's just a lot lighter overall. I mean, that goes beyond just the mood of the game, too. Like, artistically and graphically speaking, it's just a bit of a happier game to look at overall, I guess you could say. Personally, I still prefer the overall tone of Watch Dogs 1, if I have to be honest. I just found myself resonating and connecting more to those deeper, slightly darker stories, you know what I mean? Especially with the choice that they give you literally right at the end of Watch Dogs 1. I just love when games and stories, you know, just really delve into the deep, dark, and gritty stuff, you know what I mean? Just really pulling on your heartstrings and whatnot, and just getting you really invested in the story. I also resonate with a lot of games like, say, like Max Payne, for example, right? Like, Max Payne 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, just kind of give you an idea there. But anyway, yeah, just getting back to Watch Dogs 2. This game's absolutely fantastic. Similar to Watch Dogs 1, you know, just like an open world, and, you know, you can either do the story or you can just kind of driving around, messing about, messing with traffic lights, making pedestrians crash into each other and whatnot. It's a really great time, and as I mentioned before, you know, they gave you some more customization options in this game, whether that be with, like, cars and clothes and whatnot. And then after this, they did eventually go on to make Watch Dogs Legion, which did that really cool idea of, like, oh, you can play as, like, any NPC in the world or whatnot, which I always thought was, like, you know, a really cool concept, because it's something I always thought of, like, wait, what would it be like to actually play as, like, an NPC in these games? Then Watch Dogs Legion did that, and I always thought it was really cool. So, you know, I'd really like to see some more Watch Dogs in the future, because they always come up with really cool and novel concepts for their games, you know, just really innovative stuff, and the whole concept of, like, hacking and whatnot, it's just, like, obviously a really cool thing that, you know, there's just, like, a lot they can do there with that. But anyway, sorry if it seems like my brain is completely fried right now. It is. I've been talking for about an hour at this point with editing. I don't know how long this video is, but I know it's still been going for a while. But anyway, that is my complete Xbox One collection. Now, I know I could do things a bit more basic and just be like, hey, this is what this game is called, this is what this game is called. But you guys don't come here for that lame mumbo-jumbo just looking at games. Y'all come here to hear me nerd out about stuff that I enjoy. So, you know, if you stuck around this long, thank you. I really appreciate you. I love you. But yeah, my brain feels absolutely fried right now, so I think it's time for me to wrap up this video, and yeah. And don't worry, there's more where this came from. We'll be talking about many more of my video game collections very soon. And eventually, all of these will be turned into some massive, insane compilation, so you'll have like a 24+ hour video of just hearing me gush about games eventually, so look forward to that too. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out to on the mid baller tier, Miller Asking, and Big Daddy Manny, and the biggest shout out to on the G tier, Rider Vengeance, and Cheese Scroll. Thank you guys so much. You guys are literal legends. I love you. Goroni Dodoki Arigatou gozaimasu. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.